Greetings and salutations, Pokemon fans. We're back with more Smogon Premier League content. Hell yeah, we are in week 8, and today we're going to take a look at Monai against Fakes. Monai's been doing really well in this tournament. Fakes has struggled a bit in GSC, and then he moved to DPP, I believe, and then now he wanted to play Black and White, and so he got his wish granted. And so here we are. What do we have here? This preview, I see a team of full times from both players. That's for sure. Right. So Monai's team is like, I believe it's Protect, 3 attack Keldeo, and the third attack is a Hidden Power Grass, which kind of solos this game. So this looks really bad for Fakes, and Among Us is also pretty good in this matchup. And so I don't. This looks really hard for Fakes already, and I've only been here for 30 seconds. Right, so if I'm Fakes though, how do I win this game? Okay, so you see this and you're like, okay, Monai, who decides to name himself Simon95, which is Fakes Discord account name, I believe. Don't know why he did that, but sure. Um, so since Monai is such an advantage, at least at a glance, if I'm Fakes, how do I win this game? All right, first off, you really need rocks up, but that's already difficult, right? Because you get rocks up, and that's a free turn for Keldo to switch in for starters, and then your Seismitoad, you can bait the grass and go Latios, but there's also Tita here, so you have to be very methodical in your play. You need Sand up as soon as possible, that's for sure, to cut into Keldeo's survivability. And maybe if it's Chopple zone and like Scarfescadrill, you can get something done in this game. Because the only real Steelers is both take decent damage from Ironhead, and yeah, there's a Landorus here, but depending on the set, it might be a bit too weak into Excadrill, right? So, and maybe oftentimes you will only be like a crit or a flinch away from winning. And Fakes is very good at channeling his Seren Grace on Excadrill. Okay, so if Landorus, like you probably have to basically trade the Lando for the Keldeo. Scald won't kill, and if you don't get Bird, which I mean you have a 70% chance, you can Airquake the Keldeo, that's decent damage. And that's great. The problem will be if this is Scarflando and non-Scarfesca, because if that's the case, then you have to trade your Scarfer for Keldeo, kind of annoying, to put it mildly. And then you lose your Landorus, and then the enemy Escadrille is very hard to beat, as well as the enemy Landorus Therian. And there's also Among Us, right? So if I'm Among Us and I have a free turn here, I click Stun Spore. What does Fakes do? Nothing, right? What do you get paralyzed? You need a Magnezone because there's an Echo here. Although there's a chance it would lose the 1 versus 1 anyway. But okay, so if I'm Fakes, I need the rocks up, but you probably have to play around the fact that you are giving away the rocks turn a little bit. The problem then is like, yeah, you can go Seismitoad on a couple of these mods, great, but then what's your next play? If you don't want to give a free turn into Keldeo, do you switch? Yeah, but to what? Like, what other mon can you switch into Keldeo? Okay, so ideally, if this is like, do you just call them fish for a burn? Probably, right, actually. And if you get it, you're in a decent spot. And if Among Us comes in, that's also kind of the same deal. You call, and then if you burn, that's pretty decent. All right, so you should lead Among Us with Monai, and if you're fakes, you need Titar because you really can't afford Keldeo without stand up. All right, let's see. Among Us, and I assume Latios. Okay, Latios is okay-ish, but you don't want it KO Among Us. Okay, this Among Us is not especially defensive. It's like modest, some kind of weird offensive Among Us. It stands for the attacks, obviously. If you're not specs, you don't want it KO this thing. And if you do, then Tarantar comes in and then Keldeo wins because it Latios dies. And if you don't kill it, you get stun spore. So you probably switch out to what? I'm not sure. Titar probably. Yep. Yeah, this is a good switch. And kill all Ippies switches in. That's quite the nickname, man. Alright, doesn't want to risk a superpower. Fake smells the potentially free rocks turn and he. Oh, very aggressive earthquake and fix reads it perfectly. And then I guess you U-turn here. Alright, and now what? Titar? Why? Okay, so the Titar is pretty good here, at least as long as it's unrevealed, because you don't know if it's Ice Beam, if it's Fire move, if it's Fighting move. So technically your best switching will be Keldeo, as in Keldeo is the only thing that switches into most offensive moves. But not only Tarantar's Thunder Wave, it's also like, do you really want to risk, I don't know, I don't know. You cannot just toss Keldeo in, even though it's technically the highest value play, right? So I'm going to assume that Faye just stays in. You can just Giga Drain or Stun Spore anyway. I would Stun Spore here if I were I. Okay, is disagrees. Ice Beam. Yep. Okay, this looks like a quite bulky Escadrille, so that's okay. I don't know that 47 at -1. Okay, this is Adamant Escadrille with like a lot of bulk, and this is Scarf Lando, right? Or 0 HP is Lando anyway. Right, and you can assume it's Scarf, but you switch out anyway. It's Protect Escadrille, but there's no point in protecting. The leftovers would be nice, but if your opponent reads it and goes like Seismitoad, then it's a bit of an annoying turn, because you don't do enough damage anymore, and you also risk losing a lot of health. And Fakes doesn't care, just clicks Earthquake again. Pretty strong play, though. Look at this. You have to switch out, though, here, right? I guess he tries for another. Oh, wait, that is not Scarf. I guess it's like Yacheberry slash Kostap. Okay. Fakes is playing quite nicely here. And gets Signical in for free. This called you Rocks. Rocks, I think. Okay, that's. How good are Rocks here? They're okay-ish, not. They don't save you from the Keldeo murdering your team, but they're annoying for Among Us at least. Okay, Scald, will it burn? Nope. And here comes the Stun Spore. Protect. Or Hard Giga. Hard Giga is also fine. Okay, Zone, sure. That's some decent damage on Zone as well. Not that it super matters, but. Okay, Thunderbolt. I assume to catch like Titar or Latios. You don't really have to HP fire this anyway. It takes enough damage as is. Oh, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Are the Excadrill? Alright, I guess you spin. And that's the death of Excadrill unless you get a little lucky. And he got a little lucky. Ugh. Okay, Earthquake. I think Earthquake, yep. This is a kind of a hard turn for Monai. I mean, you have to switch, but to what? Okay, Arlando, sure. Um, what? Fly? Okay, okay. I mean, yeah, sure. There's a Kelly on this side. Yes, but do you really think it's getting sent in on anything but a like revenge kill? That seems very courageous, to say the least. All right. No, I know Fly works. It's nice against, say, Conkeldurr, for example, right? A team would be inclined to lead Conk into D6, and you can just fly it at turn one. And I'm not sure it dies, but even if it doesn't, it survives with so little health that you're fine. And also worth later in the game as well, in case that should happen. You could also snipe a Keldeo sometimes, which is what Fakes tried to do, but it didn't work out. Do you save the land if you're Monai? Probably, right? You probably want to save it. I will switch to Excadrill, probably. Oh, yeah, hard users. Okay, my idea was I want to save the Lando because again at this point it's pretty much well not super confirmed but Mag and this weird Lando set. So it's very likely Scarf Escadrille and so saving the Intimidate great RDU turns which I wasn't really paying attention. Is it confirmed faster than this Lando? I guess. Hmm. This one is kind of annoying for this team. You don't really have a switch in. Lando will die. Zone, I mean, dies to Giga plus fire, and I get you cannot go Latios because the instant Latios dies, you lose to Keldeo, and so what? You have to do this weird dance, which fine, but you're also opening yourself up for the Latios late game if Tarantar takes too much damage. Okay, Pursue it does absolutely zero damage. And it is in, and this is surely a nickname choice for the Keldeo. Alright. Fix goes hard Latios. Fine. Good instinct. But here's the problem. This is Protect Keldeo. And so you have to basically always recover on a protect if you are recover one, two if you are not choiced, and two you also need to not get trapped by Titar, but you don't have rocks up, and it gotten very hard to get them up at this point. And so what's your play here? Do you just drop the Draco, I guess? Oh, wow, that's a grass knot that did a million damage. This is an out potentially, but you have to get Sonators right for it to work. Like this second grass not just kills all of your momentum. And now you know it specs Latios because it did 50 to Titar, and so Among Us is back to on the field and we just Giga Drain for free twice in a row. And that's a dead zone. And now what do you do as fakes? Like what even is your out? Do you go Titar and crit Pursuit, I guess, if the Among Us even switches out? But crit wouldn't kill anyway, but I mean, what else can you do, really? 35, and Keldeo is... You're very aggressive, Keldeo. Yeah, if Tita clicked Thunderwave, this would look started to look kind of dicey. But I mean, I guess nobody runs T-Way Titan anymore. Okay, Landorus tossed the wolves, which fair enough, and then. But this specs Latios as well, so it's pretty much dead. Like next turn you have to go Latios no matter what, and this guy just protects. If you recover, you can just scald, right? Like there's no playing this at all. There's also Titar here, so if you're specs and you recover, you're dead. Although I don't think it's recover, it's probably trick. But do you see why this team was so weak to the Kellio and the Mongoose too, kind of? So this was always a disaster, probably in the making for Fakes, no matter what. Despite the fact that he played the first few turns very well, this game is done. There's no coming back from this. Okay, if Draco Meteor killed, maybe nah, because you will need to crit. Actually, your opponent can just go Latios and click moves, and Latios will be below the Rocks threshold, so probably dead anyway. Monai sacrificing Titar just so he can then go Keldeo and click moves. And it's protect Keldeo too, which makes Escadrille's life even harder. This is Carfexca. And so you Ironhead, sure. And in comes Keldeo. Keldeo will take. You have to go for the flinch play, which means you need double flinch or flinch and crit. That's so much damage, man. Like one flinch into one crit would be enough to completely delete Keldeo from the game. And it's done because it's grass move Keldeo, which is yeah. Right, so just going through the motions here, really. There's nothing much to do for either player. Just have to click. They just have to not misclick, at least Monai. Right, was this just a matchup thing? Could Fakes have won? I really not sure. Seismitoad could have been nice in the sense that with a couple of burns and protects in the right spots, he could have maybe pulled it off. Maybe. But it's hard because against this team, Seismitoad doesn't really get a lot of leeway, right? You cannot just switch in Seismitoad on much of the mons in Monai's team. It's basically only Titar. Escadrille, you tank one, yes, it will do 60 something percent, and you don't kill back with Scald, so unless you roll the 30% Skull Burn, that is a losing proposition, and so you probably don't want to do it. Landorus, much better for a Seismital switching, but it's got your turn, so you will take a lot of damage in the process. Although you have Protect, so maybe it's fine. And then Among Us, obviously not. Latios, it was Scarf, so I mean, you could maybe do some magical plays, but the chances you get Seismitoad versus Latios in this game are very slim, if not zero. And then Keld obviously is grass move, and your only Keldo switching is a Specs Latios without recover, and even if you had recover, your opponent has a Tyranitar. So I'm going to say that Fakes was never winning this unless he played like a billion times better than his opponent. But playing a billion times better than Monai is pretty hard. You need to be some psycho to do that because this guy just mid grounds every single turn, so it's not like he's going to make a lot of mistakes unless his opponent's name Fincinator. Then he will just have an aneurysm late game and lose, but that's just not something Fakes seems to have access to. So yeah, this was a this game was almost a foregone conclusion, and this means Monai is now 6-2 in this SPL. Very nice. I don't know Fake's record because I don't really follow the other tiers. I remember when I think he won in DPP like one or two games. GSC, I have no idea honestly. And then this is the only black and white game of the season from him. So yeah. Anything else? No, not really. That's it. See ya.